everybody, and welcome to this very special live edition of The Breakthrough Show. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas, and we are bringing someone back today that we haven't seen in quite some time. Justin Timberlake would say we're bringing sexy back. I would say we're bringing back some tea. We're going to have some tea time this afternoon, and we're also going to have what we do best here on the Breakthrough Show Network, which is some honest and real conversation. We're going to have some healing take place, I'm sure of it. And I know, as well as you do, that everyone has missed the BJ Cafe. So without further ado, let's welcome entrepreneur and quite a long time friend of mine now, I would say, Brandon Croucher. Care Bear Brandon is in the building, everybody. Welcome back to the Breakthrough Show Network.
Sacred Wind, hello. Hi, Jess. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am warm in this thing, and I promised you a onesie. And I did a whole 1 minute dance in the background. I was like, I know she sees me putting this on really quick. And
I didn't see you putting it on. I did not see the changing room footage. However, when I stepped away for a minute, I come back to the computer and I'm like, oh, I knew it was going to happen.
I had it like on, but you couldn't see it. But that way I could go like this. If anybody wants a boxer, I have a boxer for sale right now. She's not even mine to sell, but I'm selling her. Okay, like she has fallen in love with my cats, and when they're not beating her up, she's decided she needs to make noise until they beat her up. So I gave her a treat, and she already walked away from it, and now I'm going to pet her to keep her calm for us. Hi, Jess. How are you?
I'm great. This is where, every 5 minutes or so, we're just going to go, hi.
How are you? It's nice to see you again.
Yeah. Okay. So we have a lot of ground to cover today. But I want to start because obviously there's some people who are new to the Breakthrough Show Network that are like, who's this guy? Why do we care? What's happening here? Yeah, to you. But here's the thing. There was a lot of history with Brandon and I appearing on each other's shows. Brandon loves to get changed in front of people. I just want to be honest about that with you guys. Just be careful.
You never know what might pop out.
You never know what's going to happen here on the show. But we used to be on each other's shows. And I want to have a moment here with you to share something that I found as I was looking through all of this. Hold on, I'm trying to get to where I can play it. So that we can share about some of the fun that we used to have on the show.
God.
There's a Care Bear dance? Tim, do you know the Care Bear?
I don't know. Make one up. Like I think there's something like this. I think there's something like this, like this.
Oh, I like Tim's.
I like to get my hips into it, you know?
Right? Like, this is how I need to start every day.
What better way to start your morning than with this? I mean, come on, seriously. It's second to none.
So that's the kind of fun that we used to have.
I just realized?
What did you just
None of us can run a radio show because I'm watching that and we're like, do you know the Care Bear dance? And then we're just moving around.
Yeah,
we're not telling anybody what the dance looks like, anything. So there goes our radio morning show.
It went out the window. But this is the kind of fun we used to have all the time. And you guys had a show, Delight Digital Cafe. Like you did a morning show. Tell everybody about what the vibe of your morning show was, like what that was about.
Positivity. It's bringing excitement to your day. It's starting your day with energy. So I'm always told I'm a morning person and I'm super hyper and active. So I decided during COVID, everybody was getting stressed. Everybody was not sure what was going on. I wanted to do something different. And so I just started. I had another guy say, hey, we should do a morning show. And that's how I got involved. And then I just was like, I should just keep doing this because Sorry, Jess. This is what the life is with a boxer. I have 3 dogs right now. Only the boxers trust, and she has no need. But the whole show was focused on bringing something new, bringing you the hello, bringing you.
Hi.
Say hi. Look, hey.
Hi, puppy.
This is Bella.
Bella.
Oh, I just got French kissed on TV by a boxer.
Yeah.
But I wanted to make sure I put out positive energy out there.
Yeah.
And truth be told, I learned a lot through that because you can't keep giving positive. It has balance. And then the minute like negative starts to happen, it's almost easier because of how much positive you've been putting out to just find the negative at points. And for me, I had to learn how to rebalance that. So when I am out there being myself, I'm confident in what I'm saying, and my words that I choose are actually determined. They're known for what they should be, not just going out to try to make everybody laugh and smile, because it just wears you out otherwise.
Right. And I think, like, look, we both have done a pretty good job with both of our morning shows, Project Joy and your show as well, of like we were real about showing those moments, but then there's also the behind the scenes stuff that happens, and no one really is truly aware. I mean, are we ever really truly aware? But because nobody's in each other's shoes, but especially when you're in the public eye, nobody really has any idea what's going on behind the scenes. So when things were going badly for you, like, do you feel like people could tell on your show, or how did that look for you?
So actually, I love that you use the word behind the scenes, because people don't know. Like, there's layers to how life is, and when we add social media and putting yourself out there like that, you're giving yourself to a whole new layer. And then the people that are the closest to you, are supposed to be the closest to you, that are in the background, they know. I don't think the show, everybody could tell I was starting to fall apart. I really don't think people had any idea. But it was the off the air information, the conversations, the gossip, that no matter how hard you go to stop it, everybody wants to feel heard. And that's where, if I didn't know my right words, if I didn't know what I was saying, if I needed a day to just decompress because the show was a lot, whatever, I wasn't taking that. And I was just giving. And I think the people that saw that, not all of them, but I think some started to see that and tried to manipulate it to their advantage. And that's just when I realized my team is not a team in any way. And the person who said that to me, I was struggling with understanding, letting go of the leadership side and letting people do what they should do best. And that was where I thought Jessica would have been amazing. But you have to have people that are willing to respect and listen to that. And the drama that goes on behind the scenes can sometimes overpower other things, and the good that was supposed to come out of that got squished because of other egos wanting to feel important, and that's the truth. And I feel that I lost control, and that's my fault because I was the leader. But I also know that without social media, Jess and I wouldn't have gotten back together. Do you remember? I was thinking of this yesterday because I knew I was coming on. Do you know how you got me to start talking to you again?
I think I had sent you something about my cousin's show or my cousin's show at the casino. I don't remember now. Was it talking about that?
The Pez's.
It was what?
Pez.
Oh, it was the Pez. Yeah, because I bought the character.
And she sent me that. And the moment I was in is what a lot of people don't know is when I broke away was I went to go find myself. And the week you sent that to me, I was already with the universe. I already told the universe, whoever is supposed to be in my life, make it clear by having them message me and get in touch with me. And you said that at
I didn't know that.
I know you didn't. Nobody did. And that's the thing is in that time, like the last 6 months, I have literally told the universe, the people that will be, keep them. The people that will fall off, make it obvious. And when I say you ask the universe that with a full open heart, be ready to lose people because the universe has plans for you. Right. And when I say that, it's not sometimes. You have to realize your patterns and love yourself before you can go forwards. And I had to learn how to do that. And that was that was the biggest challenge for me. And it's why I didn't keep going on social media, because I love Jessica. But when I can't watch the breakthrough show in the morning, or I can't, damn, right next to me, if I turn the camera a foot up, she is nose to nose with the black cat, and the cat's all chill, and she's right in her face, and then the cat whaps her now and then. But I couldn't go on Facebook without seeing a post of, hey, the breakthrough show is coming. Hey, this is coming. And for me, and it's nothing against you. I'm just using that as you and I's example, because
we need to you need to say whatever. We're both going to say things today and we just need to set the ground rules that we're not going to get upset by anything, because we're just expressing our perspective.
Right. And I wasn't ever mad at you for you sharing and keep going on. It was, I felt I let myself down. B, I did not want to look at anybody else's stuff, and it made it hard to go on any type of social media, because if you're not sharing, somebody else is, or somebody who used to work for me just got their dream job or something like that. And it was just like, social media filled it with all this fakeness. And I'm sitting there, like I said at the beginning, when you feel that drop, sometimes it's easier to fill that, because it just, that feeling. And for me, it was when it started to go, I just was like, I need to let go. And this is the universe telling me I'm headed the wrong direction again. And I loved doing the morning show for certain aspects. But then I also knew that the social media side was tearing me down, because I was comparing myself to everybody else. It was so unhealthy. Yeah. That if I didn't break away from that, who knows where I'd be right now.
Right. Well, like let's backtrack for this just a moment, because we were doing a lot of different projects together. And from my perspective, I did see a lot of the drama and stuff that was going on behind the scenes. But I always felt like I'm just that person. I'm always like, just one little shift, just one little mindset change, just one little change in leadership, just one little whatever, and everything's going to be just fine. And it'll be great and wonderful. And I think for me, when I started, like, I am such a natural, like, and my husband will tell you this about me. Like, when something is not right, I am ready out the gate to, let's talk about it right now. Let's fix it. I don't want to put a Band-Aid on it. I don't want to brush it over. I don't want to just fall apart. I want to talk about it. And I want to get to the bottom of it right now. So when I started to see some of the things going on, I'm like I could tell that things were starting to shift with you. And I started to move into like a real space of concern. And I'm like, I really want to like talk about it and figure it out. And so when we had started to plan for you to come visit,
I was going to go the same direction. Go ahead.
Okay. So when we started to plan for you to come visit, I was so excited, because I really felt like this was not just because I had become so close with you, but so did my husband and so did my kids. And we all were like, Brandon's another person in the family, because you and I were spending a lot of time together working behind the scenes. And I was so excited about this opportunity of you coming in person. Number one, because that's not an opportunity that's always afforded to us in the online world. Okay. Right. But also because I felt like maybe we could talk some of this stuff out. Like maybe you and I could come up with a good plan. Like I really wanted to help you. I know you really wanted to help us. And I just thought this would be such a great opportunity to work together. And then Brandon didn't show up. Like we had, like, I wasn't getting any messages. And I'm like, at first I was really in a place of like, I'm really scared. Like, I really thought that something will like happen to you. And I remember calling Phil at work and being like, something's wrong with Brandon. Like, I don't know what's going on, but something's really wrong here. And you go, like, anytime you have something going on in a relationship, whether it's a friendship, a business relationship, wherever, you really do go through like the different stages of grief. Like you really do. Okay. Because I went from,
I want to make sure I clarify it, in case anybody missed it. Yeah. This was me just shutting off. I did not respond to Jessica. I did not respond to Phil. I didn't respond to anybody with the show. And what was happening to me in that moment was something that I wish I could have changed, because as I told Jessica, it really shook me, and it was something that, like, we'll get into that. But go ahead, finish what you were saying. I just want people to know, I literally, like, I want you to know I was the asshole. And for her to worry instead of being mad shows how much she actually, like, cared for me. And when I was in that state, it was the fight or flight state. And I've been fighting for so long, I needed to fly away for a little bit to recoup. And when Jessica and I got the chance to talk about what happened to me, it was pretty... She and I were able to actually get conversations out. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Right. No, I just was saying, like, I went from that place where I was, like, genuinely concerned. Like, I was really, and then I went into a place of really being hurt, because then I was like, what did I do wrong? Like, and I really felt like, because there were a couple people that, yes, you had shut everybody off kind of, but there were a couple people that were like, you know, I talked to him for a minute, but I think he's going through something. And then they would just leave it at that. And so I'm like, I went to that place of really being hurt, and what did I do? And then I went into the place of really being pissed off. Then I'm like, now I'm like, what the hell? And even like,
that's not the word you used.
I said, what the fuck? And so because I'm literally like, but it was even my anger, as I look back on it now, it was more coming from a place of being hurt. I'm like, what the hell did I do? And so I was pissed, and I was like, this is not fair, because I felt like even if something was going on, which we know it was, and we'll get into, I was like, it would have, I am such an understanding person that, like, if you would have just messaged me and been like, Jessica, I'm going through something, I can't even talk about it, but I'm just going, like, I would have been like, okay, cool. Like, we're good. Like, it wouldn't have been an issue.
100%. At the same point, mental health is what my big focus is. Mm-hmm. And at that moment, what nobody knew was going on is my pharmacist, my doctor, and my insurance were all debating over my medicines. Mm. And I drove down to Texas and was planning on stopping back up in Alabama on my way back. And I saw Phil on the way down. I gave him can I tell this story? Can I say, okay, just that? Okay. I gave him a present. Hi, Phil. But I stopped, and I purposely made sure, because I wanted to see you guys. Mm. And what nobody knew happened is I ran out of my pills, and the doctors and the insurance and everything, I went from taking a dose that was so high that I legally had to have the doctor tell the pharmacist that the insurance gives the approval every month. Hmm. And it was, and
this isn't like a Tylenol. Like, Brandon, no, you have a bipolar diagnosis. That's what the medication's for, right?
I have bipolar 2 disorder, so bipolar has high ups and high downs. Yeah. Bipolar 2, you can get either a high up or a high down. But the thing is, you get opposites. So if I only get a little high, my downs are down. Right. And then if I get down and then my high gets back up, my drop is going to be twice as big there. Like, it's like my body doesn't know how to regulate the serotonin in that. And so I had to learn what that, I went from being on a heavy dose of a medicine for my brain and my body to all of a sudden nothing. And the people that were reaching out and saying they're scared, like Jessica and that, I couldn't even respond to people. Right. I hit a point where I'm in Texas, in Austin, Texas, in the summer. It is a 90-degree day outside. I'm sitting outside next to the pool looking like a drug addict who is in recovery because I'm shaking and sweating. And it's not like the sweat, like, oh, you're hot sweat. It's your body is just letting go. And it was bad. And I went down and I slept for like 4 days because my body just shut down. And by the time I came back, I was in such a low state that for me to reach out to anyone, like Brett was talking to me, and he was reaching out, and the only reason he was able to keep getting me, and so was Bob, was because they have my parents' phone numbers, like my dad. And my dad's like, you need to answer Bob, he's worried. And I'm like, I don't need that right now, Dad. Like, I know he's worried, but like, I don't need you pressuring me. And
Right.
the situation, without going too far into this, where I was living at that time wasn't healthy. So I had
Right.
to take a childhood traumas and fix myself while losing my meds. I didn't know who was on my side or who wasn't. And
Right.
I had to step back. And I sincerely apologize for making you go through that.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I say thank you for understanding my pain that I had to go through, and then being willing to actually have an honest conversation about it, because I think there's too many people that it's like they don't want to have the conversation. They just want to fight. And you and I could have easily just had a fight and yelled at each other and said bye. But what does that get? And
Right.
I respected you, and I looked up to you at times, and I trusted you. And then all of a sudden, I'm the one that broke, and I needed someone. And even if I could have reached out to you, like I know I could have, that doesn't mean I would have been able to. And so for me, I thank you for, as I came back out of this dark place, being a light that I can see and know that I can go to. And please know how much that means to me. So thank you.
I appreciate that. I want to know if there, because look, again, like you said, we could have ended things. We also could have come back together and just been like, hey, I just wish you well. And that's it. And we also could have chosen to have you back on the show and like not have addressed any of this ever. And
Swept it under the rug.
because I think the majority of people, like 99.9% of the people, don't really know anything that happened. They just know you weren't there. And but because they knew you weren't there, I'm like, no, this is an opportunity that we can take to have this very real conversation about what happened, because it's not always butterflies and roses when things come back together. As you've shared, you know, your role in this, is there anything that you feel like I could have done differently? Like, could I have reached out in a different way? Could I have said or done anything that would have made a difference in that time?
So you have teenagers, okay? When your teenagers are having just an emotional day, okay? They're teenagers. My girlfriend's kid's 16. Trust me, I've seen her flip out because the bread was too soggy. I mean, like, I get it, okay? But there's times where you learn as the parent, you just step away and let them figure it out and let them heal themselves. And that's exactly... CK just texted me. It came across my screen. Hi, CK, if you're watching. Like, she said, hi, B, and that's all I could see. And I'm like,
interesting.
That's funny. But when you have kids, you learn as a parent how to be able to create that boundary with your kid. But as adults, we have our own ideas of where that boundary would be.
Right.
Truth be told, Jess, you feeling hurt is understandable. I 100% could see it and believe it. For my side, you not reaching out for a little bit, I was watching your story. I would go look at your Facebook. I would look at your TikTok and stuff. I mean, I wasn't saying stalking you, but I was wanting to...
Okay,
just a little, okay? Just a wee bit of stalking, okay?
Okay, just a little bit. It's
just
a little
tip.
bit, okay.
Just the tip of stalking, okay?
Welcome to the BJ Cafe, boys and girls.
And we're back. But no, it was, you gave me a little bit of space for a while. And whether it was you were angry at me or disappointed in me or just taking care of Jessica and the Dugas family because you had your own shit going on. Yeah. When you turned around and sent me a Care Bear thing, I was in an element that I had been getting regrounded. I had been balanced. I had been seeing success in a different business I started. And just, I was like, the universe is going to take and give and take away. And the people that are meant to be will be there. And you reached out at a time where I was sitting there saying, thank you, universe, for whoever you bring. There's been days, I'll give you one more good example. I say every morning, thank you, universe. I know you're going to provide for today. Like I'm grateful. And the thing is, I woke up this morning, every one of my clients have canceled this week. Okay? Like they've been sick, the flu, the weather. We had snow the other day, Jess. I got 2 inches of snow on the ground, and then by night, we had 60 degrees. It's ridiculous. But everybody's getting sick. They're not doing well, all this stuff. So I had a lot of cancellations of my new company this week. And I'm sitting there going, all right, universe, I really would like to just be like in flow, make sure you're in charge. This is just getting a little stressful and tight, and I'm getting nervous. I don't want to think anything bad. I don't want to take that dip, right? I woke up this morning and I've already had 4 more messages from people that are like, hey, I need you for this. Hey, I need this. Hey, can you do this? And it's like filling up the weeks that I was getting worried about. And it's like, that's the flow I'm supposed to stay in, is you don't get anxious for the future and you don't get nervous about what you did in the past. So for me, what you and I went through was a lesson, because you and Phil have been together, what, 20 years? 25?
13 years. We've been married for 13 years. So, yeah.
So 13 years, but you dated a few years before that. So let's do it even 15.
Yeah,
okay,
about
cool.
15. Yeah.
And you've known me for, let's just do all the COVID. 4. Okay. Your first 4 years of dating Phil. Yeah, I'm sure the big D was amazing. I'm sure it was magical at times. But at the end of the day, you guys had to learn how to interact with one another. How do you do that with a screen between you two? And the phone calls and the messages you get is people talking smack about one another in different ways. And I mean that as in, like, I don't like that they said this during a meeting, to I don't like this and this and this. And it's separating those and being able to see who's there and who's not. And you and I, while it looked like we fell off right off the beginning with me going away, you and I were still close enough that when Phil reached out and Phil was talking to me because he was training in Ohio, it was the Care Bears. It was just, I knew who actually cared for me, to who went and was ready to be willing to throw me under a bus just because they couldn't get their whatever they wanted out of me, you know? And for me, that was tough, but it was a lesson that as I grew, as you do with your kids, as you did with your husband, we don't have the, I'm going to have fun with this one. How Phil's watching for this. We don't have that physical connection. And I don't mean that as sex, everybody. I mean that as being in the same room.
Relax, everybody.
Good Lord. Viewerships went up to see what happens. The sexual tension between these two. Let me tell you. But we never were ever, like, I was supposed to come to you. And that was going to create that energy of what do we put down to build. And in that moment, I was so empty. I was so scared of what was happening with the pills. I was dealing with so many anxieties that when I received phone calls of, I think we should be doing this to this, and why aren't we looking at this to this? And I don't like A, B, and C, and I didn't like this person's comment. It's like so petty little things. I literally like had to break myself down and say, thank you, universe, for who will be there. And so I'm glad you and I got through this, because it was able to put us in a different light. It was able to put us in a new energy. And while we've never seen each other face to face, it makes us know that trust, that when more stuff comes in the future, it's there. And we don't have to sit in the same room to know, hey, I got Jess's back, she's got mine.
Right. We need to talk about for just a minute that there is there's an interesting thing that happens online. And I think that it became more in our face when COVID happened and kind of everybody was forced to be in the online space. But I've always, I suppose, I guess people could see it as a toxic trait. I don't know, but like I have never been able to like put a boundary, like, and go, this is an online friend and this is my neighbor next door. I have always thought of everybody in the same way. So, for example, if you had invited me to go on a Zoom call and have a conversation, and I've got that in my schedule, and my neighbor comes over and invites me down to the coffee shop at the same time, my answer is no. I already have an appointment. There's so many people who will take the online relationships and put them in the back seat because they're not able to see it as a real life relationship. And it bothers me because I have taken a back seat so many times because people haven't been able to do that. And like, I don't know, like, and I think that's why everything when it happened hurt the way it did, because I had always just been like, Brandon's just next door. Like, I just
No, you are 100% correct. Here, let me give you one here. I have somebody who I was in their wedding, him and his wife, and they live 45 minutes away. I used to drive to him when COVID started every Tuesday, and we'd hang out. But then I got the house on the east side. I had to move back in with my parents and all that. And I didn't go out as much. Like, I did every Tuesday for a while, but it faded away. And then when I really had that fall, I got into the place I'm in now, and I stopped going out of my way. And what I mean by that is, it wasn't just me not going on Facebook or talking to people on there. It's, if I drove every Tuesday to you for the last year and a half and you haven't drove to me once, I want you to come see my place. You know what I mean? And when they couldn't do that, I felt the same as what you're saying. It's like that neighbor not coming over. And it made me have to have a step back, because it wasn't I ever looked at it as, oh, Jessica's just a digital friend. I never looked at you like that. Like, because if you and I had a time schedule, I always tried to make it unless there was something else. But like, the relationships I had even with people here, I was messaged how I'm ghosting them when I was inviting them out to my house, and they always had a reason not to come.
Right.
And for me, there was a point where, like I said, I haven't been on social media. I lost 4 very important people to me 4 weeks in a row. And nobody in social media had any idea.
Right.
And I'm sitting there, and this person's cussing me out, and I was in their wedding and everything, and they're telling me how I'm ghosting them. And all I could think is, I ghosted Jessica. I ghosted my team. I didn't ghost you. I still came to you, and you're one of the only people I talked to. And then you want to yell at me because I don't want to come to you.
Right.
Like, so for me, that's one of the things, like, when I say people are going to fall off, it's Jessica texted me, and the universe provided an opening to a conversation. Where this person didn't want to have that opening to a conversation, and to this day wants to put me in this negative light instead of just sitting there and actually figuring it out. So my point is, I think that COVID in particularly forced us into being all more digital people. And I think just the naturalness of habit, being a human, we stare at our phones. We become accustomed to it. And when you're forced to do that more and more because of being at home and being on lockdown and all that, I think we became accustomed to that. And then when we get out of it, we forget that there's not a screen between us, because people are angrier than ever. And one of my favorite things to do is read the comments in things, because you see people go from like 1 to 100 so fast. And that's how the real world is going outside of it. So for me, when you and I connect, Jess, this is you and I, our hearts are linked right now.
Right.
And we're able to provide an energy that we hope others are able to hear and want to share to show the positives. Where others, my heart can go out, your heart can go out, but if they choose to have a difference of not wanting to talk, not wanting to see, not wanting to accept, it separates being able to actually have a conversation to a fight. And for me, you wanted to have a conversation, an adult. A fight is like your 3-year-old saying, I want macaroni and cheese. You know?
I do kind of want macaroni and cheese right now. Thanks a lot, Brandon. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Okay. I want to ask you about accountability, because I know that we've talked a little bit about mental illness as well. And I will say that, like, I completely get that when you're in the thick of things and the whole world is falling apart around you, and your days are spent on the phone with mental health professionals and doctors and police officers and whoever else is involved in the situation, and you literally have no energy left to be like, hey, just wanted to let you know. Like, I get that part. And even though I say, like, if you had just made that one phone call, things would have been different. I also understand it at the same time. But like, how do, if we're struggling with mental health issues, how do you hold yourself accountable for the things you know you need to do without, like, with also taking into account that there are serious mental health issues? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you sort of balance that? Because I think it can be easy for some people. I know that when I had a certain diagnosis in the past, I was like, well, I have this. It was an easy out. It was an easy out for me to not have to hold myself accountable at all. So how do you sort of balance that?
That's a great question, Jess. And that's not me stalling. It's me. It's me going. It's an everyday battle for me. And I mean that as in, like, I wake up and there's days where looking in the mirror is sometimes bringing me to tears. And I don't know why. And then there's days that I wake up and I believe I'm meant to change the world and make it a better place. And I go live on Facebook or something. Not really, but you know what I'm saying.
Yep.
And you and I having this conversation helps me create a boundary with you and I. And then if someone else, I have a falling out because of me having a falling, I know to send that email. Just, hey, it's not you. I'm really down right now, and I just want you to pray for me. I just want you to think of me. I just want you to say you love me. That's it. Like so for me, I learned that lesson through this. But that's the point of life, is to see what lessons you can learn. You've ever heard the phrase, like, burn the bridge behind you? Somebody says that and stuff like that. Yeah. I'm kind of known for that. Like, if I'm gonna go, I'm gonna go. I know I've hit my wall. I'm known for being overly accepting. I let people get away with almost like murder to a point, and then, bless you, I turn around and I'm then extremely angry at them. And the thing is, I know that I didn't turn around and try to burn the bridge with you. I purposely just stopped. And that ghosting wasn't a ghosting. It was, if there's a lot of people who message me on Facebook, and if I don't answer them, they think I'm ghosting them. When the truth is, I sometimes don't give a shit about looking at my social media messages. And it's nothing against anyone else. It's, I got to give you one thing, and this is me 1,000,000%. I don't, excuse my language, because I know you're okay with swearing, but fucking hate this. It's, they change the fucking settings all the goddamn time. So I would turn off the notification that I'm online, okay? And then they'd be like, hey, there's an update. And it's like, okay, do the update. I got to do it anyways. You're going to fucking screw me on that. And then next thing I know, if I don't turn that back off, all of a sudden, these people who I don't really know are messaging me at all hours of the day, and they're giving me a book of problems. And I'm so nice. I read it, and then I'm responding, and then I'm involved. And for me, I can't go on Facebook and have people who I haven't talked to since middle school for some of them. I literally cannot log on just because they changed the settings. So it makes it easier for me to pull back on things. And then it's when I do go on, I see the message and I write back if I want to. And it's one of those, it's not an insult to anybody. Everybody's going through shit. Right. I want you to know every single person is going through something. And if I burned the bridge with you and I wouldn't be able to have had conversations later. Right. And I didn't want to burn the bridge with somebody who I didn't think really did anything wrong. Where other people, I went live and made my what was really going on known. And I pissed off some people with it, but like, you got to defend yourself, especially when your name's being thrown. So for me, I didn't want to burn a bridge with you. I didn't want to lose you with Phil and all that, but I didn't my accountability would be Brandon taking a step back, seeing what he did, and then the conversation later. And that way, now you text me today, and I responded right away. And before, what would it be? It'd be like a day or two in between texts for me.
Yeah.
Now I'm much better at knowing the boundary I have, because there are people, and I'll just use a family member as an example, that the minute you write back to them, they have 10 more things they want to keep giving you because they just got to get it off their chest.
Yeah.
I can't do that. So for me, there's times I look at people's things and I have to realize who I can and can't respond to.
Right.
And I'm doing much better at getting into these and looking at it. But at the end of the day, I didn't want to burn a bridge with you. I wanted to be able to turn around and have you and I be able to, if the door opened up again, to talk. Where others, when the door shut, I took the house and I burned it down behind me and said, you're not someone I need back in my life.
Yeah.
And I think that the thing that people need to know about burning a bridge, because they're going to associate that to bipolar, the thing about burning the bridge behind you is a boundary for somebody with bipolar. Now, I say that as someone who, if I'm burning that bridge, I've gone 2 or 3 days of doing nothing but thinking about it, and I've wrote it down, and I've taken my notes. I've done the positives to the negatives. I wrote all that out, and then I turn around and say, it's just not worth it. And then I'm able to let it go. You can see that the negatives outweigh the positives. But the thing is, in a bipolar moment, you might not realize that until you actually know how to sit down and spend a few days doing that. Because I could have easily just been like, you know what, Jess? Your show's got more viewership than I do now. Your YouTube channel has more than mine. I don't want to be on. Blah, 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 blah. No, that's not it at all. It's I wanted to be able to turn around and grow. And that's the point of what I do and where I am. And I'm grateful for people that fell back into where we were supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
I hope that answers right. In a way.
Yeah. I mean, the accountability thing, I do think that when you have different mental health issues, that or challenges with mental health, however we want to say it, that that reflection piece is so important, because if you think you're familiar with the spoon theory, right?
Yes.
You know,
go ahead. Okay. Explain it for the people who don't.
For the people in the back. Okay. The spoon theory is this theory that, on a normal day, everybody wakes up with so many, a certain amount of spoons, right? But if you have a mental illness, if you have chronic pain, if you have insert whatever here, you have less spoons starting off your day than someone else who might not have those issues. So you may have a laundry list of things that you have going on, and you wake up in the morning and you have 1 spoon. Where are you going to spend that spoon? That's what I really I knew about that theory, and then my son reminded me of this theory as well, and it's something that we need to realize, because when we are in conflict, someone who may have had 4 or 5 spoons going into that conflict might process it and be able to take accountability very different than someone who goes into that same conflict with 1 spoon.
Yeah.
And so that reflection piece is so important, but it's also how I know that despite anything that happened, despite whatever amount of time I stayed in the mad space, that's how I know that you're good people, because you've been able to reflect and say, okay, like, this is where I can take accountability. And I was coming into the conversation going like, please tell me it, like, because I'm in a good headspace right now. Please tell me if I fucked up anywhere. Like, truly, I need to know.
And I remember you asking me that, and it totally was like, how do you explain to someone how grateful you were for them, but you can't talk to them because you feel you've disappointed them? Like, I really was stuck at this, like, I was beating myself up routinely of wondering what was going on, what I can do, why did I pull away? What do I need to do to fix it? And it's one of those where you couldn't have, you were asking questions to get the right direction. You were asking Brandon, what can I do to help? And even when I said, I can't afford to pay you right now, you turned around and go, that's okay. I want to know what we can do. And in my head, I was so overwhelmed with just the negativity and figuring things out and trying to keep myself in a headspace of not wanting to kill my parents, because I had to move back in, and I'm 40 I'm going to be 40 at that point. Now I am 40 and I have my own place. But it just shows you that, like, when you don't, that mental health thing it's a big thing for people, because I think the next generation, the younger generation, has this idea that it can be used a lot more as like an excuse. And I'm not making that, but like, I've had kids that work for me that are like, oh, I need a mental health day. And their idea of a mental health day is like playing on their phone all day, making TikToks.
Right.
And the thing is, a mental health day is disconnecting from the things that are creating those areas. And we don't even realize that. And for me, it's, if I'm saying I'm taking a mental health day, it means most likely my phone's going to be off. I'm going to be in the woods or working on my yard or doing something I want to get done. But at the end of the day, a mental health day needs to be a day where you're not connecting with others. It's your mental health. Have you ever heard the Chinese parable of the maybe man? I'll make it quick.
Okay.
So there's a ancient Chinese like leader.
Yeah.
And one day his horse runs away. Okay. The neighbors come over and the neighbors say, oh my God, can you believe it? That's so horrible. I'm so sorry. And he says, maybe. Next day, the horse comes back and brings 7 wild horses with him. Oh my God, the neighbors say, that's amazing. Like, you have to be so proud. Maybe. Next day, his son's on a ladder and his son falls and breaks his leg. Oh, what are you going to do? Like, that's horrible. That's horrible. Your son now can't work, can't do all this stuff. Maybe. Following day, the king's men show up and knock at the door, and they're recruiting young men to join the army. And they could not take his son because of the broken leg. The neighbors come over and say, it's a miracle. Look how awesome this is. He says, maybe. He never let the words of everything outside influence what was really happening in his life. And it's not saying yes, no, or anything. He says maybe, because he was waiting to see the final outcome. Did the horse run away? Yes, but it brought back 7 other things, 7 more horses. Did his son get hurt? Yes, but he didn't have to serve at war. He didn't let one activity change how he thinks of everything else. So for me, after I heard that, I try to keep myself in a state of maybe. And it's really difficult.
It's hard.
It's so hard. Like, you want to like, tell people stuff. And like, the thing is, you and I have this energy, Jess, where you want to help people and teach people. And you want people to say, like, it's the old saying, teach a person to fish instead of giving them a fish, you know? They eat for a lifetime compared to a day. But the thing is, I feel people today don't want to know how to fish. And all of it is so readily available on the fingertips of us from YouTube and TikTok and Google that we're disconnected from truly being able to have that connection like you and I talked about with the heart connection.
Yeah.
And I think that the digital world is able to manipulate how we do this. And I think that you knowing yourself is the biggest thing. And I think, Jess, you knew yourself and I didn't know myself. So when we were on a journey, my boat is being pulled one way, yours is being pulled another at that point, and then all of a sudden mine hit a storm and I couldn't find you because I'm in a storm. And I think that that's the thing, is we all have to know that sometimes you may be in a storm, and I just have to be understanding. It's not you leaving me. It's I can send you a picture of a Care Bear at any time, Jess, and I know if I don't get a response, you'll respond in time, and when you're able. And it's the same for me and you. So for me, I think that's the lesson I've learned through this, and for people with mental health, is if you're gonna burn the bridge behind you, take a moment to see before you light that match, is it worth it? Because you never know what's gonna happen, who you're gonna run into in life.
Right.
And when you burn that bridge, you can't undo a burning.
Yeah.
But you can rebuild a bridge. But
Mm.
it's going to take both sides working together to make that bridge connect.
Right. Right. We have to both choose things. I mean, how would it have been for you? Like, because I've thought about this myself. If I would have reached out and you didn't respond, or like at all, like, and years go by and you never, like it just literally ends. Okay. Or if you would have done the same thing, if you would have reached out and I would have never said a word, like what you're talking about neutrality, about the maybe, about staying neutral, it doesn't take away from the fact that we're going to feel very real human feelings in that moment of rejection, of
Mhm.
hurt. You're going to feel those things, but the question is how long are you going to sit in it? What would have happened if, like, how would that have affected you? Like if you would have
If I
reached
was in
out
your
and I would say nothing and I just ended it.
So, truth. At the beginning of all of this, not this episode, like you and I talking,
Yeah.
if you
Yeah,
wouldn't
yeah.
have messaged me and I messaged you and you didn't respond, at that point in my life, I would be devastated. The human side of me would turn around and say, what the fuck did I do wrong? Why does Jess not respond to me? I need to have that person respond to me.
Mhm.
Over the last 6 months, I have realized how loving myself has to be and knowing the people that are going to be there. So for me, if I was to message you tonight and you decide, fuck Brandon, the BJ Cafe no more, I'm closing down my StreamYards because of him, and then never respond to me again, the human side of me will be hurt. But what I would tell myself is just give yourself 24 hours to hurt on this, and then just do yourself a favor and know that what will be will be. Yeah. And I say that because I'm the type of person who would sit and dwell on it until the end of time.
Yep.
And if I hate being in that element. Mm-hmm. So for me, I give myself a time limit. It's the same thing as like when I go on Facebook now. I set a timer for 30 minutes. And that way I don't get distracted and get lost. TikTok, it's an hour because I like TikTok better. But my thing is I literally, I go on these things and if I'm going to be on there, I give myself a time limit. And that way I don't get stuck. And the same thing I've learned with energy like this. Like if I upset somebody and they just don't want to be around me or they want to blame me, the other friend I was talking about, I have to accept understanding their side. They might be going through some stuff, but then I also have to understand you don't have to take that on. And if they don't want to talk to you, that's on them. Right. And I think seeing that A, you and I were able to reconnect, seeing that B, you and I were able to stay calm, get through I know you were going through shit at that time too. I mean, you and I almost cried on the phone together that first time we talked because we had so much going on. Yeah. And you and I were able to pick back up after a conversation at the beginning and really dive into back where we were. Right. I think that too many people choose words of hurt instead of silence and healing. And for me, I really wish more people would take a moment of silence to think, because that's the biggest lesson I've learned out of the last year is if I give myself 24 hours and you say, I don't have to block you or anything, but you just don't respond. And then it's years later and all of a sudden I see a post, Jessica Dugas is on Good Morning America. I'm going to sit there and go, I'm going to give her a like and I'll say I'm proud of her. And if she doesn't respond again, I have to know that my storm kept me away. Your boat took you another direction. Right. I can't be mad at you. I think too many people get stuck on looking at what everybody else is doing. Yeah. It's that moment of silence sometimes is needed. And I say that, so I'll give to you, and I'm not religious, Jess. Mm-hmm. I'm more of I believe there's something bigger. Yeah. I was on the phone with my sister recently. She's getting married, and she is just a wonderful bridezilla. And she literally is just complaining, and she's giving me all this stuff. And then one night, it hit me. And I literally have no other way of explaining it. She literally just kept going. And it's, well, if we get married in Texas, Dad's going to be mad because it's too expensive to fly from Ohio to Texas. But if we get married in Ohio, Jerry's parents are going to be mad because of
Yeah.
and then Rebecca, and then Jerry's sister, and then this, and that, and this, and all this stuff. And I'm like, and she's very religious. So this is where this came from. What did Jesus do right before he was taken away with the cross? He was put on the cross. He had to stop. And he went into the mountain and he sat in silence. Some people call it meditation. Some people call it prayer. Some people call it just the self-love. But the thing is, he went and he went alone. And he listened to what he was supposed to do. He didn't get on his phone and look at Facebook. He didn't call his sisters, and he didn't call Paul and be like, yo, come here, I got to run something by you. He didn't call Mary and be like, hey, I know you're a hoe, but we got to talk about something really quick. I need some advice because I'm thinking of like throwing myself out on this cross thing. No, he went up and he sat alone.
Yeah.
If you don't know what you want, then sit alone. Be in silence and know what the outcome is you want. And that way you can know where you're going and what's going to be good or bad for you. So I say that to say, Jess, I think that time of silence, while I never meant to hurt you, and you know that because we've talked about it, I apologize with 100% full heart to you, the Dugas family, and anybody I might have offended with that. But I'm grateful you and I got that moment of silence to know what we wanted afterwards.
Right.
And get to be able to grow. So
Right.
thank you, Jess.
Absolutely. And like for me, it's a similar, I understand that some people need to process things in that silence. And I understand that there's also people out there like me who need to talk it out. We need to have that, like, that's just how we process things. And so if we can find a way to come together with that understanding where you have the quiet time you need, I have the talk it out time that I need, and we can somehow make that happen. But also, like you said, being good with the consequences of it. You have to be good with, after you take your silence, after you take that silence, that I might not have been good with that silence, and you have to be good with, like, if I need to talk it out and you don't like that, then I got to be good with the fact that you didn't like that. Like, we just have to be good with each other's stuff.
Exactly. And I think that's the thing. And it's the timing too. Remember, time is an energy. Time is what we make of it. So in that moment, like, I was driving the other day and there was a billboard. And it said, are you going to heaven or hell? And the billboard split directly in half, in heaven and hell, right? But the thing that went through my head is that's every single second of every day. And what I mean by that is the guy in front of me cuts me off. Am I in hell that I want to run him off the road and yell at him and flip him off? Or am I in heaven where I'm like, it's okay, go ahead. And then to rebuttal that is when I'm in an element of not hearing you and not responding and all of that, to turn around and know that you're going to want to talk. We're going to need to talk it out. I think talking it out is 100% reasonable.
Right.
But it's picking the time. That way both of you can come in. You come in with a good energy, an open energy, a calm energy, and a loving energy. And that opens it up. That's how you and Phil built a marriage. And then we're able to have 17 kids and be able to...
The children, they keep multiplying.
They keep multiplying. Well, I remember on the show, I always would multiply it by 3, and then it got to such a big number, I couldn't keep up with the math.
Every episode, we got to it was like I don't know, 30 something more than the last episode. Yeah, I'm busy over here, people.
I don't know how you do it. She's like working with her right hand, popping kids out with her left, cooking with her toes. Jess is a woman of all talents.
People ask me if I have a TV. The answer is no. I
don't either.
I don't have time for that.
I do not. What is TV there for? Like, let's be honest. If you want to get distracted, you have Facebook, you have Instagram, you have TikTok, all this other shit. Facebook, the TV. Somebody asked me, my dad, what was the first thing I cut out when I needed to stop hearing all the noise and stop hearing the negativity? Do you know what the first thing I cut out was?
TV.
TV was already gone. That was gone. The first thing, but you're right. The second thing, I guess, what I cut out was listening to the radio. I literally turned the radio off. And what I mean by that is, like, I used to like sports talk radio. But the thing is, they're focused on making sure they keep a conversation going, which is usually contradictory and stuff. It's like they want that fight. Well, then you start listening to other radio shows, and it's political, or it's race, and it's all these negative things. So I'm like, turn the radio off. Because the TV's just as bad. So for me, that's part of the silence. You can't have this in front of you if you're going to be sitting there having the world coming at you. Because, Ooh, actually, last one, I promise. So you can't focus on what's in front of you when you're always looking at a screen, wondering what's going on behind you. The rear view mirror is not the most important thing when you're driving a car.
Yeah. Very true.
Thanks, Bradley, you jerk.
Brittany said, although you can't go back and change things, I'm glad you all got the chance to reconcile things. And like we got the chance, but we also took the chance, because I think oftentimes we get the chances for things and we don't always take it. We don't always take that opportunity. And sometimes, we've talked about on Project Joy this morning. Is it necessary? Do I need to respond at this time? No, I probably don't, because I'm going to get myself in trouble. But, sometimes that silence is good and it's quiet. And this was a really good opportunity for us too, because, our mutual friend, Ferran Dozier, that I just love that man to pieces. We're hosting a show called Beyond 2D together. And the first 4 episodes were focused on communication. And I figured since we just had this whole thing about communication, we'll take the opportunity to communicate live on air. That's what we'll do.
I love it. No, I think that too many people don't want to have a real conversation. And you knew it wasn't me hiding. It was me just tired of comparing myself to others. And if I can't stand and be proud of myself, I need to be able to reset. And the thing is, I think that is something that a lot of people don't realize is if you don't stand for what you believe in, you stand for nothing. And I think a lot of people stand for nothing because they don't believe in anything. And we're all loud on social media. So you and I having a conversation.
Keyboard thugs out there.
I've never heard that.
Oh, you haven't heard that before?
There's
some keyboard thugs out there. Let me tell you something.
I always thought they were keyboard trolls.
I've heard keyboard thugs, keyboard warriors.
Warriors, I've heard that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I've heard thugs. I've never heard thugs. I've heard I've had friends that were trolls, and like that's why I even asked you at the beginning of the show, do you want to use any of my things to go live? And you're like, I was like, okay, because deep down inside I was thinking there might be some trolls out there that would see my stuff. Like they'd come out just to be able to have some fun and let's rile Brandon up.
Yep.
I can think of a few right off the bat with you, can't you?
Me too. I can think of a few as well. I'm waiting for it when I post the clips.
I'm
across
excited.
All the social media. I'm waiting for it. It'll be great.
Oh, I want the trolls. Like the thing is, it's not the fight. It's not the fight. Sometimes a troll just wants to be heard. It's like a dog that's barking at a cat because it thinks it should speak the same language. It doesn't. The cat's going to be a cat. Let the cat be a cat, dog. Stop focusing on it. So for me, I'm focusing on Brandon, the cat.
Right. Okay, so as we wrap this up, how do we move forward from here? And what's your what are you taking away from our conversation today? And how do you see moving forward when things when the shit hits the fan in a relationship?
So how I see things going forward is you and I understanding each other, talking more. It's you and I looking at each other, and it's like, if I don't answer for a day or two, you have the permission to say, hey, are you okay? And that is my way of knowing you are nervous and I need to respond. Going forward, I have to be honest, Jess, I have no idea. I think you and I going through things together. I think you and I working on things together. I don't know what the universe is going to put in front of us, but being able to be open and flow and let that be what we do is where I see it going. I love you. I love Phil. I think Phil is the biggest D out there. And like, I think Phil makes me laugh at times. And then he makes me like realize like, we're all doing our best. I am a single guy. I have a girlfriend who has a kid, but I don't do much with them because they have their own lives. Okay. But like Phil raises a family of 5 kids and you guys have dealt with quite a few issues over the last few years.
Yeah.
And I am me. And at the end of the day, I don't have kids and I get annoyed with my dogs barking at the cats. I can't imagine how annoyed I'd be with a 3-year-old wanting me to tie their shoe for the 100th time and a 16-year-old driving me up a wall. You and him are saints. And I think that me understanding that you may be overwhelmed with stuff at times and you need that moment, you understanding it with me. It's just us rebuilding. I think you and I have already started the process of rebuilding, excuse the way of saying this sounds, but like a path of growth. And I think that you and I see that our boats were meant to float together and we can actually do more than just sitting around and supporting through a like or something. It's having the conversation that shows, look, I wanted to kick Brandon in his nuts and then roll him down the street. And that's not me saying anything she didn't say. She said, Brandon, I'm going to kick you in the nuts and hope you fall backwards down the street.
I did not say that. Don't you dare.
Just kidding. But no,
y'all know I didn't say that out there. Come on now.
Say that. She did say you better wear a onesie on this episode at some point, though. That's true.
I think I did say that. I'm pretty sure that sounds like something I would have said.
So I'll give you one last joke. All right. Okay. So I walk dogs for a living right now, and it's just a way of helping me keep my mental health while rebuilding some other stuff. And I like dogs. I hate their owners. But it's because dog owners are usually weird people, but they're not as bad as cat owners. But one of the dogs I walked there, a double. It's Hundo and Hannah. Hundo is a Neapolitan Mastiff that weighs 260 pounds. I weigh 202 pounds. So when I walk in this house, this dog puts his head down, goes between my legs, and lifts me up. And I'm like riding this dog. No joke, true. And his sister is a tiny little Shih Tzu. Okay, so I've been walking these dogs for a while now. Well, the neighbors to these 2 dogs are weird as hell. Like they stand in their windows going the whole time I'm walking the dog. So I was texting their mother, the dog's mother, and was like, "Hey, I'm going to wear a onesie tomorrow to walk the dogs. I want to see if your neighbors tell you what color onesie I was wearing." And she's like, "Wait, what?" And I'm like, if they're going to watch me, I'm going to have fun with this. So I luckily have enough onesies. I'm going to make sure I have some. I'm kind of thinking I'm going to wear like the unicorn one. So that way it really like makes them.
Yeah.
I almost threw that on today, but the head would have been flopping all over. So.
True. No, that would be awesome though. But listen, it's been so good having you back on, and you're going to be joining us on Tuesdays on Project Joy Live. We'll be talking about the joy. We're going to start out talking about the joy with pets and how they can help with our mental health and things like that. And I'm excited to get into that on Tuesdays on Project Joy Live and have a little BJ cafe to start your day.
Hell yeah!
I mean, right? It's going to be great. It's going to be awesome.
Everybody needs a BJ in the morning.
That's it. Everyone. Thank everybody for watching or listening wherever you are today. Thank you, Brandon, for joining me on the show today.
I said it without thinking. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's going to be great. Thanks for joining me, Brandon.
I'm grateful to be here. Like, just so everybody knows, who knows what Tuesdays are going to bring.
If in case you missed what it used to be, allow us to catch you up. Okay. All right. I love you all so much today. Thanks for joining us for this special live edition of the Breakthrough Show. Brandon, thank you again for being here, for joining me. Thank you for this conversation. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.